Welcome to the Squared Circle Pit with your host, Rob Pasbani.
Now entering the Squared Circle Pit, you may have seen him on Impact Wrestling, TNA Impact Wrestling on Thursdays on Access TV. And this past weekend, he won the Deadlock Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championship with Speedball Mike Bailey. I have entering the pit, Jake something.
Oh yeah, throw it up.
Welcome. Thanks for entering the pit. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me, and loving your Sid the Third shirt here, representing.
He's the man. He's the man.
I saw him comment. I saw on your Instagram. I was doing some research. Others might call it stalking, and I saw you posted a high school photo of yourself wearing a Slipknot shirt, and Sid commented on the photo. Are you guys buddies?
Which is, well, I would like to say we're best friends. No, we're at least internet buddies. But I'm just like a huge Slipknot mark, and Sid is a very nice dude. And one of the pages I followed for just like Slipknot related content is called Trash Bag Ghost. And I thought it was just like someone that made cool art, but it's like he's boys with Sid, and now, well, he's my friend now too. But he's boys with Sid. And he started following me, and like we kind of started talking, and he goes like, "Oh yeah, I do some merch for Sid. I could probably get you hooked up." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that you actually made merch for Sid. Yeah, that'd be cool if you want to send me some merch." And then like out of the blue, months later, I just get a random DM from Sid, and I was like driving too, but I like glanced over. I was like, "Well, that's not right. That's somebody that's not Sid. That's fake." And I opened it up, and Sid DM'd me randomly and followed me, and he's just like, "Hey man, heard you're a fan. That's really cool. I love wrestling, blah, blah, blah." And like directly after that, he like sent me a video of him remixing my old, at that time, Impact music. So I was like, I was like floored, because this is my first convo with him. So I was like, wait, what is this? It's literally a video of him just like, mixing it up, scratching to this song. I have it on my phone and on my laptop. I'll send it to you so you can listen. It's really cool. But I'm like, wait, how did he even? So this man, Sid, that I've been watching, listening to since I was a child, went and looked me up, found my entrance music that I used to use at Impact, because it was before I even like joined TNA, and just did his thing. Sent it to me, like didn't just unprovoked. And then he asked for my address and my phone number and stuff, loaded me up with merch, and he's just, ever since then, he'll like shoot me messages and comment on my stuff, and it's like coolest thing in the world to me.
That's so cool. That's cool. I didn't realize he was a wrestling fan either. And what a way to introduce yourself to somebody by remixing their entrance theme.
Yeah, I again, like floored. I've been listening to them since I was 9 years old.
Yeah. So what did you get into first? Was it pro wrestling or was it heavy metal?
Honestly, I think I've just been this forever. Because my family watched wrestling, so we all always watched wrestling. And my brother, I'm super close with, he's 8 years older than me, so just anything he liked, is what I liked when I was a kid. And he introduced me to metal, every metal thing that I liked. So I've always been this, only in a smaller form.
Nice. Do you remember, like, what's your earliest wrestling memory? Do you remember like the earliest thing?
I think maybe I just remember like going to my uncle's house, and like I would go over there with my mom, and we'd watch pay-per-views whenever they come on. I specifically remember watching a lot of WCW over there, and they had like these like albums, because they used to go to like live wrestling shows, and there were some pictures with Ric Flair, and my aunt, she had like long blonde curly hair, and saying how I was I don't know, a gullible little kid. They like, my uncle was joking around and saying that Ric Flair and my Aunt Lucinda were related just because she has blonde hair. So I think that's my earliest wrestling memory, is thinking that I was somehow a little bit related to Ric Flair.
Hey,
I'm super
cool.
not related to him.
I mean, of all the fairy tales you could tell, that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Michigan? Oh, this was in Michigan that you grew up? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't realize that was NWA territory. I thought I would assume that would be more WB town.
You know what? And I don't know what promote. It could have been anything, right? Because they had so many pictures of just like They went to every show. They had a bunch of like flyers and stuff too. So I don't know, like I don't remember seeing the words NWO either. So I guess I don't know what it
Hmm.
was.
That's cool that they were that into it.
Yeah.
Was there like a moment where your family fell out of it and you were still into it, or are they still into it?
So my mom is still into it for sure. She'll watch every match I ever have, which is very, very awesome. Yeah, I'll get done with a match that I don't even think that someone would have access to. And as soon as I get to my phone, I'll look at my phone and my mom's like, "Oh, good job, honey," so she watches everything. So, but falling out, I guess, maybe one by one, some of them stopped, but I just every Monday I'd watch Raw, and every whichever day SmackDown decided to fall on because it changed a lot, I would watch SmackDown. Before that, I would watch WCW and WWE, and then when I found TNA, I'd watch every single TNA. I recorded every single everything. So in my garage right now, I just found a box of TNA tapes from when they were on what was that called? Fox
Fox
Sports
Sports, yeah,
Net or something.
yeah.
That's the one. So I found an entire like archive, like a box full of TNA tapes because I would, if there was 6 hour or 8 hour tape, I would just record each episode and have it all together. Same with my Raw and SmackDown tape. So I have, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of tapes out there,
That's
just
awesome. Yeah,
completely full.
those Impact shows were so fun. It was kind of weird because I
Mhm.
remember they were on at like Thursdays at like 3 p.m. or something like that. You know, it
Yeah,
wasn't a
it
prime
would be
time
like
show.
shortly after I got out of school.
Yeah, but it was always really fun. It's kind of crazy, too, with TNA. I've just been thinking about it. They've been around 20 years now, at least. And so there's so much history. It feels weird just because I, lived through it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
right.
it still feels like a new promotion, but now it's like, I forget. I think maybe it was like Will Ospreay said that like he never even watched WWE growing up. He only watched TNA and like Ring of Honor, and
Yeah,
that's so crazy to me. But it makes total sense. Like
yeah,
sometimes you want the alternative. You don't want the main brand.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know if like because especially because it happened at different stages, right? Like I grew up watching WWE and WCW and stuff, and found TNA when I was a teenager, so it was like right time too because teen angst, and then here's this alternative. I don't know if edgy is the word, but very very fast pace and this and that, and it was like
Yeah,
right when I was a teenager, so it was perfect for me too.
yeah, and I mean, I was a big Ring of Honor guy,
Hmm.
and WWE at the time in the mid aughts was just terrible. It's like the worst, and the
Yeah.
darkest period I think in WWE in terms of hard to follow. Like, just you don't want to be a wrestling fan, and so
Uh-huh.
Ring of Honor was like what kept my wrestling fandom going. And then those guys started showing up in TNA, and it's like, oh, cool! I could just watch, Samoa Joe and AJ Styles on TV every
Oh
week.
yeah.
That's awesome,
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of what drew me to that is like, oh, this is the modern style without the annoying WWE filter of their,
Hmm.
stripping down the work rate or whatever. So that's what I really loved about it.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
oh,
same.
good. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's like where you get the cool matches, like the
Yeah.
X Division and everything.
Uh-huh.
I saw you made your return a few months back, and you
Mhm.
returned in the Ultimate X. That must have been so trippy because I feel like that's one of the hardest matches to have because you need such upper body strength
Mhm.
to do that climbing that rope. What was
Yeah.
it like actually competing in the Ultimate X? I'm sure you've seen plenty of them and you've seen all the
Yeah.
moments. What was it
Well,
getting up there?
it's nuts. And I'm not acting like I have the worst fear of heights, but I definitely have a fear of heights. So I was like, well, I sure as shit don't want to go up there. But and I was thinking about, I was like, oh, I'm strong enough to climb that, absolutely. But then I was also thinking, I weigh a lot. Me getting up there is gonna be way different than any of the other dudes, like even Kevin Knight's in the match and him and I are similar height. So we probably both have the height advantage in that match. But I'm like, me hanging up there, I have at least 60 pounds on that guy. So like it's gonna be much different for me doing that. So I was wondering how it was gonna go. And once I actually got there, I was like, that's actually way taller than I thought. And come to find out, that was one of the tallest Ultimate X matches they've ever done. Like I don't know like where it ranks, but I want to say it's either number one or number two. I'm trying to remember how the conversations went because we were all like, "Hey, this is like really high," and our boss was like, "Yeah, this is actually the highest one." or something like that, right? So we were all a little nervous, but we made it happen. It was so tall that when I stood on the top rope, and I'm like a hair over 6 foot, like just under 6'1", so that's like the height I'm at, and I have really long arms, like really long arms. My wingspan is 6'7". So when I stood on this top rope, I'm like, I should be able to touch, and I couldn't reach it, which was pretty surprising. So then I started thinking, okay, if I'm just a little over 6 foot and my wingspan is 6'7", I'm standing out there. I'm like, what's somebody like, I don't know, Gresham was in the match. I'm like,
Yeah, is he
how's that
gonna
going to
get
happen?
there?
Yeah. So I already respected everyone that's been in one of those matches before, but I had like a complete newfound respect just thinking of some of the stuff I've seen. You remember when Christopher Daniels was on the top of one and jumped and landed on the X? Insane.
Oh yeah.
That's an insane thing to think about now that I've actually been in there, because I guess it's a little easier to watch and just be like, oh, cool. Once I was in
Yeah.
there, I was like, I can't believe anyone's ever done that.
Yeah, or like people that do those like flips from the like hanging, doing like a moonsault or I just can't.
Insane.
Yeah,
I
and
hung on it and I got low blowed and fell off of it, and that hurt just falling from that. So I
oh,
can't
just
imagine.
yeah. You don't consider that. It just looks like a video game. You don't
Yeah.
even think you don't
Yeah.
even think of the pain. Also, how do you deal with like having the gas to have to go, get up there and climb? You've been wrestling for 10, 15 minutes. You're probably low on breath. How do you do
Mhm.
your breath control? How do you learn that?
Well, I guess something like that, breath control. I just, I've been wrestling since 2009, so it's kind of like just muscle memory by this point.
Mhm.
But I did, and I specifically did little extra training for this match, just of like, because I already do chin ups and things like that. But I never just hang for long periods of time or monkey bar stuff anymore. I haven't done that since I was a kid. So I did a lot of that, just seeing how long I could hold, or
Mhm.
like, in a flex position, anything. Um, which was like exciting because I've never, it's like, oh, I get to train for a new thing. That's very cool.
Yeah, it
So
was a
that's what
fun
I did.
challenge.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool that you decided to train at the Ring of Honor
Mhm.
dojo. Being from Michigan, there's I'm sure plenty of schools closer, but you felt it was better. Was that just a conscious decision because Ring of Honor had such prestige at the time in the mid aughts that you thought this would be the best way in?
To be completely honest, for the most part, the only wrestling I knew at the time was well, the big two, I guess,
Hmm.
TNA and WWE.
Oh, okay.
And so but I always knew I wanted to be a wrestler. So I Googled wrestling schools. Me and my buddy that I trained with, we Googled wrestling schools. And like the top thing that came up was Ring of Honor. We're like, oh, what's this? And that's when we learned what Ring of Honor was. And that's what made like, oh, we have to go there. Because there were other schools, some good schools. But you look at a little school that is just like whatever, and then you look at Ring of Honor, and then you have this archive, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, like everyone that's been through those doors, where you're just like, okay, I have to go there. So that's how I kind of made it. And then I became a huge fanboy for Ring of Honor, obviously.
And so, like, when did you decide that wrestling was something you thought you could do, or that you wanted to do? Like, what made
Oh,
you what made you go down that path? You always wanted to do it.
oh yeah, like I not even to be like that guy. I've always wanted to do this, but I've never had a different answer. I remember in like first grade or whatever, barely know how to write, but they're like, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Everyone write down your answers, and like, everyone had firefighter or cop or whatever, but I was like, "Oh, pro wrestler." I think underneath it too, I wrote or drummer. You know, not that.
Cool. So, who were your guys growing up? Who were your idols that you looked up to when you were?
I think the first one was Hogan, and I was trying to when we were talking about the first memory thing, the one that is like seared into my brain is when he turned heel, because I like cried harder than anyone's ever cried for anything. And I had this little toy Hulk Hogan, like that was fully flexed, one of those little rubber ones. And being a little psycho, I stabbed it repeatedly because he broke my heart. But
Well,
so I think,
he deserved
yeah,
it.
yeah. You know what? I got back. Don't worry, everybody. I got him. But but I think he was my first big one right there.
That's cool. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, same as well. Like for me as well, I was a little earlier, and like I was very sad when Ultimate Warrior beat him. I refused to believe it.
Right, right.
So let's switch gears to music. So, what was your first concert? Do you remember the first gig?
Actually, I love my first concert. It was very cool. I was either 17 or 18. I was a senior in high school still, I think, or 11th grade, one of the two, it must have been senior year. Okay, the headliner was Kitty, awesome. Kitty and Puddle of Mud, which also is awesome. It's funny because like years later, as like, oh, I'm a metalhead, right? But Puddle of Mud, I'll still put them on. They're still sweet. I still love them. That
They have some
concert was sick.
songs.
I think it was called the Altered Skin Revolution. So there was like some tattoo stuff going on there too. There was also wrestling there. So I just had a little bit of everything I loved.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
I caught the drumstick too for Kitty.
Couldn't have a better first concert experience than that, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my first concert was Korn and Stained opened for them, so it was I'm very proud
That's
of
awesome.
that. Yeah, it was at an arena, like it was an arena show.
What year was this around? Do you know?
It's probably like 2000 or something, like around then.
Oh, sick. Okay.
I could probably find the date right now just because I remember. Yeah,
Awesome.
April 8th, 2000
So cool.
was the date. Yeah, so it was it was out at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. I'm from New York City, so I had no way to get there, and I told my mom, and I'm like, hey, me and my friend, we bought these tickets. She's like, I'm not driving you. She got like
Yeah.
some family friend to drive us. It was
Right.
such a
Right.
thing. But yeah, no, and so I think that's awesome that your metalness and your wrestling coincided and raised you. So
Yeah.
Puddle of Mud and Kitty. So I'm guessing you were like into the new metal stuff and the music of the time. So
Still.
like, yeah, hey, I still jam Corn. I mean, I don't listen to as much new metal as I did then, of course, but Corn fucks very much so.
Dude,
And-
absolutely.
yeah, especially like they announced that 30th anniversary show in LA. I don't know if you saw it, where they're going to be playing a
I-
bunch of songs from the first album, and I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I should go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw that. Also, I was like, well, I would really like to see that.
Yeah, and all the openers are great too. So, I mean, I'm guessing you actively follow the scene. Being in Michigan, also there's a metal scene there. Are you like a Black Dahlia Murder guy, or like some of the other bands?
I never got super into them. I'd say Michigan wise, I liked King 810 for a bit. That those first two CDs I really enjoyed. Not that I disliked the rest. I just really liked those first
Mhm.
two. Had the rawness of first two CDs that bands put out.
Yeah.
So those are the Michigan ones that I really fell into. I think maybe I got introduced to them either because I was, friends with various people in the music scene around here. A little pop punk band that used to be a thing called the Swellers. They're awesome dudes. I think maybe I got into them through them, or because I was going to a Slipknot concert and they had them open for them. May have been that.
And so, what are you listening to right now? Like, what's in your active rotation?
Being who I am, I do still listen to Slipknot every single day of my life. So they pretty much always will be. Newer bands, I just found this one. Speaking of new metal, because I still avidly listen to new metal, I just found this
Mhm.
band called Profiler. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not. This is a newer band.
Awesome. Yeah. So they kind of had this feel of like the mid 2000s new metal, not much screaming, but just there's a good feel to it. They have a good feel to it. They kind of remind me of Turnstile.
Yeah.
They kind of remind me of that, only more new metally. It's really cool.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm very big into Turnstile. Very much enjoy them.
Yeah, I saw
See-
them at Knotfest in Iowa.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
Yeah,
was
it's kind of
awesome.
wild. Yeah, it's wild seeing how crazy people are for Turnstile. Makes me feel a little old because it's like I like them, but I'm like not as into them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, right.
did I not? It's like, did I not get the
What are these
memo?
kids listening to? What are these kids listening to these days?
So that's cool. You went to Knotfest. It must be fun to change it up and be, a civilian and not a performer,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
taking the festival experience as just a fan.
Yeah, and like, obviously we're concert goers, so I like to go and do these. And I've seen Slipknot a handful of times, but like, I was like, I have to go to Iowa for it. I have to do the Knotfest Iowa. And the lineup was insane. Some like you asked me who were some of the people I listen to a lot. Lamb of God is another one that's a rotation every single day.
Nice,
At least weekly, I listen to Megadeth, and they were there. I'm
nice.
trying to remember. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Gojira. I love them, dude. They're so good. I want to say they were there as well, if I remember correctly. There's certain bands that I've seen like a handful of times, and they, you know how it is once all the shows start blending together. That's kind of how it is. I'm like, okay, I think I saw Gojira there. I know Lamb of God was there for sure. I've probably seen them like 5 or 6 times. But those are some active rotations every day.
No, I think that's a very solid active rotation.
Hmm.
And you're a man. You're a physique guy. You got a good
Yeah.
physique. What are you blasting in the gym? Do you have like go to music? What gets you in the zone?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Sometimes it's just across genres, right? Because I'll be in there, I'll be listening to Hatebreed or something like that. That's a very
Mhm.
even if you're not like a meathead, I feel like if you put Hatebreed on, you're gonna like, shit, I should do something,
Yeah, exactly. I
But
agree with you.
I'll put them on, but then every now and then, I don't know, I'll just be like, I just recently started listening to him. And I'll put him on for a solid hour while I'm at the gym. I guess it just depends. I don't know. Whatever I'm feeling, I'm feeling.
Yeah, I feel like with the gym, you need a certain BPM. There's certain metal that's a little too fast.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I think that Hatebreed Perseverance is like the ideal beats per minute.
Hmm.
Like I've actually
Yes.
done cardio and it's like a pre workout of
Yeah.
just like suddenly I'm running faster. I'm going to
Yeah.
the beat. It gets you going.
No, 100%, 100%. And
Uh,
sorry, I really wanted
shit,
to
I don't
bring it
know.
up because
Please.
just within this last year, I've gotten super into Cannibal Corpse. They are in my active rotation heavy now.
Yes, they
Awesome.
should
I
be.
love them.
Have you
Talking
seen
about
them
the
live?
gym. No, I haven't because I think when I was younger, I wasn't into them.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, and then they just kind of came on my Spotify, and I was like, shit, what is this? This is awesome. But then I was like,
Yeah.
shit, Cannibal Corpse. I didn't think I liked them. And then every song I've heard from them since, I've been like, I actually love them.
They're a great live band, and
Oh
the
yeah.
best part about them live is frontman George Corpse Grinder Fisher. First of all, his name is Corpse Grinder, pretty tough.
Sick.
He's kind of like wrestling promos in between
Is
in
he?
between the songs, but like about the band, about like the
Yeah.
songs, like this next song. Is a love song.
You're like, oh shit, what's he about to say? Bleeding come.
Yeah, it's like I call blood. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's for
yeah,
the ladies. It's called Trails Ripped from a Virgin's Coat. It's great. It's
Yeah.
very romantic.
yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And so one thing I love seeing your success. You're showing up more and more. My first exposure to you was at the New Japan shows in Times Square. And I don't recall you being advertised, but I mean, you came out, the people knew you. What was it like, being in Times Square, performing at that venue and wrestling, I believe Shingo, right?
Yes.
Which is like,
That-
that's quite an accomplishment
Awesome.
in itself.
It's so sick, man. That whole show was like the announcements were a mystery show because
Oh,
they
right,
had
right.
the day after was I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think like the night of the 44th Street or something. So the day before was like the night before, and it was Halloween
Yeah. I think it was
stuff.
like Massacre on 42nd Street or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, something like
Yeah, yeah.
that. And so I didn't know who I was going to wrestle either. And when I got to the show, I'm just like looking at the card that just kind of has all the matches on it, scrolling down. And like, I kind of expected, like, say if there's 10 matches, I expected to see my name a little closer to the top, but it kept going down. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm pretty low on here. I'm like, does that say Shingo? Am I fucking wrestling Shingo? I'm like looking around, I'm like, is this You guys fucking with me? No one wanted to. No one wanted to tell me like a day ago, or as soon as I walk in, like, hey, brother, by the way, you're doing something pretty cool. Yeah, it was awesome. It was all one of my all-time favorite experiences, moments, matches. Very cool.
And so one thing I'm curious about, how is Shingo's English? Like, how do you guys communicate? You know, like, is there a translator that works with you? Like, comes in and like,
Yeah, so wrestling in itself is like a language. So even when I trained like at Ring of Honor, our teacher wanted us to get good at that kind of stuff, calling matches with people that, you don't speak the same languages. There was a Japanese student that was in our class that we were working with. So that as I trained, I kind of learned how to do it. And then he was wrestling, my trainer was Delirious. And I remember he was wrestling for Shikara, and he was in a match with like a lot of luchadors that did not speak English. And so he had me and some of the other people that were there watching the show, like, just come to the back and watch how they called a match with somebody that doesn't speak the same language. So that was pretty cool, just getting to like watch that before I knew how to wrestle.
hmm.
But since, as an active wrestler, I've wrestled plenty of people that don't speak the same language. So it's like I'm like used to it by now, I guess. So when we called it, his English isn't super strong. It's not the worst. It's definitely broken English. Suzuki was in the room too, and I think I wrestled Suzuki maybe like 2 months before that, or maybe even a month before that. It was pretty recent. And that match was really awesome too. And I think maybe, he likes me or respected me. He seems like he does. And so he was joking around and talking to us while we were calling the match as well. So even though it's like we don't speak the same language, it was like, I don't know, we were still joking around and goofing off and talking without talking, I guess. I don't know.
That's cool. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, you could still get like, they know the names of the moves in English, right? So you could just get through just
Dude, it's not
talking
even
about
that because
or just
those are
the
different
pantomime.
names.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because sometimes, I think like a hip toss or an arm drag or something is like a completely different thing in one place to another. And there's another, say if you call maybe back suplex, it might be a completely different thing over here too. Sometimes moves have like completely different names or switched up names. So I think it is just like the pantomiming and stuff like that, or even just like the stances that we have or certain things where we just know.
That's awesome. That is the magic of pro wrestling there, because I
Yeah.
feel like you could never tell, like, ooh, when watching it, that you
Right,
just seem
right.
so you're working together for this piece of art.
Hmm.
Also, you won the tag titles this past weekend with Speedball Mike Bailey at Deadlock Pro. I'm hearing a lot about Deadlock Pro. It's so cool that indie wrestling is thriving again. And I feel like, how does it feel I feel you are one of the rising stars, and you're getting this recognition from these companies that they're trusting you guys. They gave you a win over the Motor City Machine Guns, that's a pretty big deal. How does it feel to, like, you're like, oh, it's working. Like, I'm being successful, like,
It's
like
working.
things are happening. It's happening.
It's weird too, especially I'm sure that this translates to a lot of other businesses, but it's almost like you don't want to get too caught up because sometimes when you can feel yourself having these like momentum or accomplishments or being like, oh shit, it's working, I'm doing
Mhm.
it, you know, it can be fleeting because it can change really quickly. So I've had moments of, the highs and the lows. So right now I think I'm on a high. I feel like I've got some good momentum and I like it a lot. And I know eventually it'll go back down. So I'm kind of just trying to go with it. But it's awesome though. I think in this last year or two, I've had my best matches, my favorite matches. I've learned the most. I've been in there with the best people I could be in there with. It's just the last couple of years have been very, very good for me professionally. That I'm very grateful for the way that things have transpired.
Yeah.
And speaking of DPW, that is the place for you. You in particular, because you're talking about ROH pretty heavy. That's new ROH. That's 2008 ROH, guaranteed. You will love it. When I went there, I was just like feeling the environment. I'm like, this feels like ROH. This is weird. And then as the show went on, I'm like, holy shit, this is ROH. I didn't even get to say it yet, and I heard somebody else say it. And then when I said it to the promoters, they're like, dude, everybody tells us. So it's like a very real thing.
Okay, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I'll check out the show this past weekend because I saw a bunch
Mhm.
of, it's interesting how like Twitter is dying for everything, but I feel pro wrestling, it's still like
Yeah.
the ultimate platform for it because it's where everything happens. It's where
Yeah.
where I learn about new wrestlers or see clips
Uh-huh.
from up and coming promotions. It's like the only outlet for, I guess, Instagram as well, but I feel more
Yeah,
stuff is
yeah.
happening on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't know that Twitter was used for anything besides wrestling for a very long time. I didn't know. I was like, oh, what do you guys fucking just say stuff on here? About what?
Well, Jake, it's been incredible talking to you. I'm so glad we finally got to catch up and I got to learn a little
Mhm.
more about you. And hopefully, I'll be seeing you live on the road soon here in the Northeast some more.
Well, hey, TNA's coming to. You said you live in New York?
Yeah, in Brooklyn.
We're coming to New York like real soon in the next few months. They just announced it. I think in Albany. Is that how far away is that for you? Is that far?
Albany's a little far. Yeah, I'm in the
I
city.
was like, that's
so-
opposite. As I was saying, I was like, I think that's the opposite side. But regardless.
Yeah. But I think I heard a rumor that you guys might be doing something in the city. But if you guys do something in the city, I definitely check it out.
Yeah, and
I'm
Philly.
excited.
Philly's not that far.
Oh yeah. That's true. Philly's closer than Albany, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely do that. But either way, Jake, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, see you until then. I'll see you in the pit.
Yes.